Hey guys, welcome back to Matt Labbers, and today we're going to be talking about how possibly some of us could earn six-figure in revenue. So I have somebody over here today, which is MJ.
Hello.
And he's going to share with us some very good stuff. And I'm going to we're just going to find out, we're just going to chill, we're just going to talk about it. And we're going to see how does he actually does it. And is it really true? So MJ,
Yeah.
I've heard that you have made six-figure in revenue.
Yes, over the span of the past couple of years, from 2020 to 2022.
Right.
Both of those years were six-figure years. One of them, I believe, was a six-figure US dollar year.
So I'm pretty sure everybody who's watching right now is curious. How do you actually get to this result? Like, what would be your journey to do that? Because I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this, anybody who click onto this title, basically they are going through some kind of journey where they're trying to take their business online, they're trying to scale up the business, and they've heard about all these things, all this myth about how you can get a lot of views on YouTube. You know, you should go to TikTok, and you see a lot of people posting like you can earn a lot. So what would be your journey to getting to that result?
So I think the first thing I want to say is that six-figure is not like an amazing out of this world achievement. I think many people have achieved that before. So what I have achieved in that sense is I don't consider it like a huge achievement. I know some people might think that's like what you're saying is a lot, but I don't, at least when you compare it to those who are really, really on their game, right? Six figures is like a month, not a year, right? What is unique is how I've done it, right? And I guess that's really probably the first point I like to make, and that is everyone is unique. So because also everyone is unique, I think the second thing is like luck plays a big role. For example, I started this business with a former partner in 2020, April. So do you know what that coincided with? April 2020.
If I'm not wrong, it's probably either the worst time of some of people's life where they couldn't find income, or at the same time, it's probably best time for some people to make money.
Basically COVID, right?
Exactly.
And I still remember we tendered I tendered my resignation of my previous company. Not my company, the company I was working at. On the same day, Tun Mahathir
won the election.
Tendered. No,
tendered
the Sheraton
time.
move. After
absolutely.
that, then he tendered, right? I was 5 hours ahead. I always like to say 10 a.m. He was 2 or 3, I think. So luck plays a role, because when I tendered, I didn't think that it was going to grow. And what definitely boosted the viewership, the ability to generate reach, and to appreciate our kind of content, because our kind of content is more long form. What contributed was the fact that everyone was at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when even I myself started my own YouTube channel. The views were just way much more easier to come by. Because everybody's just sitting down and then they're watching. So you mentioned that you resigned from your job.
Yes.
But the question I have in my mind is that how did you go from resignation to then run whatever you're trying to run with no guarantee of success? In fact, I'm pretty sure that as you're venturing into it, you don't even know what to expect of it. And I know a lot of people are on the same boat, even myself included. So did you already have an idea on whether you have something you want to work on? That's why you resign, or?
Well, I came from the investment education line. So it's not like I was leaping into something totally new. It's not like I was going from banking to coffee making. So let's get that out of the way. I wasn't, doing a 180 or switching lanes, right? Now, one question that people always have on their mind is, well, I have no experience. So what do I do, right? Like, where do I start and things like that? And I think people, especially in Asian societies, place a lot of emphasis on experience, which makes sense, right? But the beauty is that you get to borrow someone else's experience. And that is looking at people who have been in your position, who have been there and done that. And so that person for me was, I think, someone you know, right? Vanessa Lau, right? So she was like really huge. She's still quite big, but she was massive back, 2-3 years ago, where she was known as the Instagram girl online.
Right.
And she opened a world to me of how you can actually use this. So she also escaped a corporate career. I wasn't corporate, but hers was like proper corporate. And she escaped that life into entrepreneurship and things like that. And so she had made a lot of mistakes, and she was sharing very candidly about what to avoid. I guess that would be my second thing, right? The first is to copy, to see someone who has done it before and just copy almost blindly. And then the second one is to focus on what not to do.
Right.
That was very, very crucial.
Right. So, of course, you shared with me Vanessa, and I've checked out Vanessa as well.
Yeah.
And what Vanessa did in the videos, she also mentioned the things that, the mistakes that she did, and the hard times that she goes through. And I think it's an emotional roller coaster journey when you decide to engage into something completely brand new.
So I mean, just to add to that point, right? I read this somewhere before. I can't remember, but it has to do with like tennis, the game of tennis. And the difference between like people who go from amateur to pro, I'm not talking about going from pro to world number one, right? I'm talking about amateur to pro. The big difference is that they do not make unforced errors. So unforced error is just something that, as the name suggests, like you will not put under pressure and you still made a mistake. So like a simple stroke, things like that. Your service, for example, when you serve, doesn't hit the net and it's within the box, things like that. So I think it's the same concept here. Like if you just focus on avoiding mistakes, avoiding unforced errors, right? Now to be even more granular, it can be, things like there are a lot of things that one big mistake a lot of people make is that, well, they think that because now they are owning their own business, they need their own office space, they need a secretary, they need a nice table.
Absolutely.
They need to have better car, better suits, things like that. I worked with a former employer who thought like that, but I knew his finances didn't allow that. So I think that's really what it is, right?
Correct. The pressure of like being a business owner or being an entrepreneur, all of a sudden, instead of working hard, suddenly you find the need to want to impress people. So that's why people are like dressing nice and trying to at least show that they are still doing well. Trying to show that they are financially sound. But the reality of running a business really is that you have so many costs that is involved, and you're putting in like subscriptions, gears, maybe hiring freelancers to do one small little thing, and all of this cost will just accumulate it and blow up. Could be quite big. And for those are the people who are running businesses using their own savings. That is a very dangerous move if they don't consider it carefully.
Yes.
So for yourself then, you resign and you jump into something that you already know. Did you make those losses? Were you savvy with your overheads?
So we started with another partner, and then another creative director who was my friend. So he, in the initial stages of our channels, the videos were edited by him. In fact, up to today, some of our transitions, the format still remain the same. So it's really his idea. So when we started as business owners, it was clear that we needed to have certain amount of savings before we jump right into it, so that it allowed mistakes, right? Thankfully, we didn't make like big financial mistakes, but having the idea, at that point in time, I had almost 5 years of expenses saved up, so it didn't matter even if the next 5 years the company didn't grow, right? It didn't make a profit, so I could withstand that, right?
So,
and also the creative director that I worked with, because he was a friend and all that, and of course we were starting an exciting project, so he offered to actually help us on a very below market rate for his editing services.
Right.
Now, in return, we gave him a lot of other non-financial benefits.
Right.
For example, we bought the camera that is on you is a 22K camera. So we just told him, like, because he was also a photographer, so we were like, hey, if you want to use it, just use it, right? No, nothing. Just take care of it. That's it. So we play around, especially at the beginning, right? You don't want to give out a lot of financial benefits. You want a lot of non-financial benefits. Serves two things. The first one, obvious, is it's non-financial, so it doesn't strain your cash balance. But then the second thing is that you actually sniff out who's really on Team U. You know, when generals go to war, right? They want to know who are like merchant soldiers and who are like loyal soldiers, right? And loyal soldiers were always more than willing to give up some financial benefits for something even greater, right? With the general. But merchant or hired guns, right? They just pay me and I'll fight for you. You don't pay me, I don't fight for you. So it serves those two purposes, focusing on non-financial benefits.
Understand. So in the first 6 months of you jumping into this business, when did you start to make your first buck? And how did you, what are the things that you did that got you there?
So actually the first month we really started making, and the camera that is on you, which was our very first investment, made back within 3 months.
Wait, I'm curious. You're saying that the first month you start making money, and this is where, are you saying because you made a lot of videos pre-hand while you're still working?
Yeah.
Oh, so while you're still working with someone else, you already started doing this project where you create content?
Yeah. So it helped that in my previous line of work, we in a way created a client base as well. So, I mean, we didn't steal our previous employer's client base. I mean, at the end of the day, the client ended up using both our services, and the client gets to use, there's no such thing as that if they use mine, they cannot use the other, my former employers, vice versa. So we were fortunate in that. We played a front-facing role in the previous company also, so that helped. Right. And
so this is sort of like the case where companies like World of Buzz, they engage people to create content, and they are the face.
Like BuzzFeed and the Try Guys.
The Try Guys.
That's the example.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So something similar, right? And so we did that. So that definitely helped. So what we did with that new catchment of, you can say warm leads.
Yeah.
In fact, it's warmer than warm. It's quite hot because we know that they've paid for our services before. So once we know that they've paid for our services, that anything we introduce newly to them, chances of buying is higher. I mean, statistically, right?
Yeah,
if they bought with you before, right? I'm sure you yourself running your business, you have clients who they buy the first one, they buy the second.
Absolutely.
And
the upgrade is, the upselling is so much more easier. Like they don't even ask questions anymore. It's all about the trust, and when the time comes, you ask them to pay and they would be happy because they trust you already.
So what we did was we started with, so actually we didn't film any videos. Oh, okay, wait, to be specific, we didn't film any YouTube videos. So imagine we bought the camera in March and then COVID hit, right?
Yep.
So it's just 22K just sitting there doing nothing. Doing nothing. And we could only start filming somewhere in September.
Right.
So that's quite a long, 5 months. Now in between we went through the wilderness. We wanted to work with another creator in the space that didn't quite work out.
Right.
So then we came back in September only, we started filming the videos.
You know, one of the things before we move on is that a lot of people, they have a lot of obstacles whenever they want to start something, right? You want to start something, you find out that some things are there to prevent you to do it. So you already got a 22K camera, and filming could literally be any place with a simple background. So what held you back from you and your team at the time from beginning filming?
Because we couldn't meet, because it was doing MCO.
And the camera was stuck somewhere where you guys
it's one of
access.
our houses, So
one of the houses.
Like was it with me or was it for creative directors?
All right, got it.
So in April we were like we hop on Zoom, and then we were like, okay, what do we do, right? So we started. That's why we actually started Instagram first before YouTube.
Right.
So Instagram came first, and we wanted to try Instagram Reels. At that point in time, it wasn't called Reels, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was just stories. There was no Reels.
Something like that. It was a weird phase in
IGTV.
Man.
Exactly.
That
Shout out
was
to producer outside.
horrible years, man. So we did that, and we tried videos, and then we started doing content, and we were quite we were relatively early. So when we did that, we got a lot of new like followers in addition to those that came from our previous company. So with this new followers and hot or warm leads, we were able to launch our mentorship program for a tenth of the price that it was today.
Right.
And the reason we did that is because we've never done a mentorship program before. Now the materials is what we've tested before.
Correct.
But we've never actually done it on a one-on-one basis, which was the mentorship program.
Yeah.
So the mentorship program, we wanted a smaller ticket size so that we can get paid for producing beta clients.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because at first, when you pretty much have all the things that you needed to actually run the thing. It's just that you haven't quite packaged it into a presentable and learnable format. So by having people on board, then you're kind of killing two birds in one stone, which is more efficient.
So these different clients, I think by the time we hit, so what we did was like we started at a certain amount, and then we saw like, hey, a couple of people are willing to pay that amount already. So let's increase it. So increase it. And so that's how we got back the camera's cost.
So this is where a lot of people always have a question, because whenever you go to like those YouTube videos or any videos in particular, you hear success stories and it just seems like such a fantasy-like story where, case in point right now, I guess for those who are listening and watching right now, they will be thinking that, wait, so you just have warm leads, then you hop onto IG and it's like you make your buck and the rest is history.
Yes.
So I want to know the struggles that you had in between to then convert the warm leads you had to actually people who paid. What are the small little struggles that made you successfully go to the other side?
I think the first struggle is to actually learn how to do sales. So I'm not a natural salesperson. And a lot of people out there, especially sales guru, will tell you, no man, sales is a learnable skill. And I think there are aspects of sales that can be learned. But there's a bunch of people who are born, they have the energy for sales. And then they layer on the sales, let's call it tools, that makes them, superior. But for me, I don't have that as a core. But certain skills are, when it comes to sales, is actually really, really important, right? Basic things like salespeople, we tend to think of them as people who talk a lot, right? It's actually the opposite. So good salespeople are actually people who first and foremost listen, so that when they do talk, the other side can at least feel like they are heard.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And sales is also about information gathering. So when you ask questions and then let them respond and talk, if the prospect, takes, 80% of the time he's sharing instead of you talking, then you are collecting all this information so that when you craft, now the next thing is the offer in a sales thing, it's very precise. It's something that they're looking for. So for example, in my field, one of the big challenges people might have is technical knowledge. Let's name 3: technical knowledge, the fearful that they don't have finance background, so they can't really do it. And then the third one is that they find certain concepts within investing that's hard. So if you come into a sales thing thinking, okay, I'm going to talk and I'm going to lay out my offer straight away, you can't do it based on what the person is saying, because you have not heard what he said. So you would have to pre-create beforehand a certain template. And so you come in putting out your 10 points on why you should buy or hop onto my program, when instead you actually sit down, listen to him, and then respond on that basis. And also it feels more natural. So in the early days, back to your questions, I was doing that templatized style of things. Like I was trying to figure out, okay, so these are the things. Then I will go in and then I will talk for like 10, 15 minutes straight. And then I feel like, well done, But after that, they'll be like, they don't buy and all that. So then when I threw that out, it's the image is like you go on stage, right? And you have a note or some speech notes in your head, and then suddenly you just tear it away. Yeah. I think that's very similar, right?
Correct.
Imagining. So that was what my first obstacle is, to realize that you should do less talking actually.
Yeah, because eventually they've already see if they're already warm and they've seen all those materials, they kind of know what to expect, and this is the time where you want to hear them out.
Yes, exactly.
And so from there you move on, and was it like a fluke shot when you start earning, or did the money just came in one time and then you don't see the same success, or was it continuous where it keep rolling?
I think the first 6 months it was very continuous, and then there was a little bit of a decline, but then that plateau didn't really last.
What was the decline about, and what
because we were trying to work with another creator, and then there was a request that we do not take on new clients, for example. So we didn't do that, and then after that, we moved on, right?
Yeah.
And then the big one came in 2021. 2021 was when we saw a big one, because we transitioned from a one-to-one model to one-to-many, which was to take what we learned, what we guide people in the mentorship program, which is again a very manual thing. We meet them physically and things like that, and then digitize it.
So you reach the scalable point of your business.
That's the scaling.
And for those who are new to this channel, I myself is also teaching kids on how to do YouTube.
Yep.
And I'm
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm at the stage whereby I'm trying to convert myself from manually teaching one-to-one and finally be able to automate the process and have it learnable, self-paced, and do it on your own so that I don't have to physically be there, whether if it's online or whatever. But what I think a lot of people will have the same question is that, so they have their product, right? They have their product digitized, or even their service, or whatever that is that they're trying to offer, and they reach to a point that they feel that they are able to package it so that it can run smoothly on their own. What would then be the next hurdle that stops them?
This is in order to scale, or after they started scaling already?
In order to scale, like they are just that right at the tip where they are ready to go ahead and scale.
Well, if they're ready, so you're saying that what obstacles they might be facing once they start?
Yeah, correct. It's like they have their product, they have their beta clients, that their MVP, they have it all ready, their websites, their program and everything, and they are ready to step out the door once again to step to a bigger door, outside their bigger door, to scale it out. What is going to be a common obstacle that they're going to be facing?
Obstacles they will face would probably be things like so in order to scale, you need to understand your funnel very well, and your funnel have what we call like checkpoints. So let me give an example, right? Someone watch our YouTube video, they will be acquainted with 2 checkpoints. The first is and both of them are free checkpoints. So this would be whether it's like an ebook or a free webinar.
Something easy for them to take home so that you can trade off more emails.
Yeah, so we can collect their emails, right? Now, if they go through the book, we will redirect them to the webinar. So the webinar is the key. So now in that webinar, then that's when we introduce our paid programs right at the end of the webinar, right? And that'll be the second checkpoint. And then after that checkpoint, there are other checkpoints, but these are already paid client checkpoints already. This is from non-paid to paid, right? The challenge before they do to get them to pay you is things like your copywriting. That's absolutely key. Then if you're doing webinars like I'm doing, how you structure the webinar. So just now I said how you cannot go into a one-on-one, let's call it prospect meeting,
right?
With a template.
Yep.
So the Uno reverse card is now when you scale, you have to go back to the templatized.
Because the template is then proven and it's tested.
Yes. So that's the second. That's the other benefit of doing one-on-one. So you get like a very personalized and detailed information on the needs and issues of these respective paid or unpaid clients, right? And from there, you can then now go to your webinar, because your webinar is just the online version of this prospect management or this, sales event, let's call it.
Correct.
And now after you've guided 10, 20, 30 people, what are the biggest common objections?
Right.
So in like my view, one of the big objections would be, how do I know, right, you're legit? So then you already prepare an answer for that.
So let's talk about webinar for a while. The funnel part is definitely interesting, and I think a lot of the people who are trying to make it on their own would be somewhat familiar of all these checkpoints.
Yeah.
But the webinar business is something like a MLM business, right? Where it's a legit business model, but because of the people who are trying to succeed with it, they kind of put a bad reputation in it.
Yes.
So webinars, masterclass, gurus, or whatever, call it whatever it may, it doesn't have a good rep anymore, especially when now endemic, everyone's coming out, they don't join this one. They may sign up, but they kind of forget that there's an event ongoing. So what would you say that a proper webinar should be done so that people are genuinely interested and they go inside and continue the funnel?
So the first thing is that there are many approaches to this. This is not entirely my approach, but this approach has worked for a lot of people who are a lot better than me. Is to be thick-skinned. Is to not let it get to you and just say, no, I think my stuff is valuable. And if you don't want it, you can just, if you feel it's scammy or whatever, you can just go away, right? Write a bad review, who cares? Right. I know I'm good enough. So that's one method. Then the second thing is that's why I mentioned about, when you go through that one-on-one prospect training, how genuine you come across to the person.
People will be able to tell.
You should bring the same energy into the webinar. So when they are there, they can feel like, yeah, it's genuine, it works, and you're not trying to manipulate them, right? Of course, it doesn't mean that we don't have, sales or marketing tactics to edge you closer to buying what we want to buy. Obviously, it's there, but we don't do it to an egregious extent. Now, the third one is where I would say that where we are quite unique compared to the other gurus. And when I say unique, I don't mean that we are better. It's just, definitely a lot of people are making a lot more money than us, but where we feel are unique is to create organic content.
Right.
So the problem with why most gurus are hated and are criticized, sometimes legit, sometimes not legit.
There's always this remark that they say is that you can learn the things that those gurus are teaching for free on the internet.
Yes.
And
yes. I'll address that later on, but to finish my earlier point, the reason people feel it's scammy is because they feel transactional. So they know they see a Facebook ad, a Google ad, a YouTube ad, they see you there. And they know it's an ad. Because you know why? On YouTube it says, let's skip this ad. Right? It's so obvious. So already their guards are a little bit up. Right? And then they know if they hop onto your webinar or whatever, there's going to be some product right at the end. And so they don't like it. Now, that is not a reason to stop using that method of funneling. Or to stop doing ads.
Right.
Do that. However, if you do what we do, is to add organic content to all this, then when someone finds you on the ad, then they're like, okay. Then when they search you up, they realize, oh, you have like hundreds and thousands of hours of organic content. Let me just check them out first. So then they watch a video and then they spend 3, 4, 5, 10 hours watching your organic content for absolutely free. If they like your stuff, by the time they do go into the funnel, they are ready to slide down all the way into being a paid member.
Correct. Yeah, it's sort of like let's use the example of an insurance agent, right? So if you suddenly met an insurance agent and that agent sells you all this kind of stuff, there's a very low likelihood you're going to buy. But if there's agent that knows your parents, knows you, who are constantly around your house, and when the bad moment happens in your life, and that's where the agent is there. Because you already know that person, what it does, its beliefs, its methodologies, its approach. And the same goes with what you just said. Having those content helps people to sink into it much more easier. Yeah. And then just buy when the right time comes.
Yeah, so you're creating ready buyers, right? You're turning your leads from cold to warm. And so that warming process, you can either do it like what you do in the mentorship, where you try to talk to them, make them feel good. These are very like short-term kind of efforts, which it works, right? Like you meet someone, you get them to like you, and so on and so forth. But if you do it through the longer-term method, which is organic content, they are warm, and by the time they meet you, done. So give you a real-life case studies. One of our mentorship clients, he actually watched a podcast that I did. It's not even my channel, that I did with YCS. I'm not sure if I told you this story before. So I hopped on their podcast, Yamcha Sessions, go check them out. And it was a 2 hour, 15 minutes podcast. And they get to hear my life story, what I do, how I think, blah, 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 blah. And just on that alone, someone applied for my mentorship. And then he said, hi. He's based in New York, but he's Malaysian. He's in New York.
Wow.
And he just listening to me for like 10 minutes. And I couldn't sense whether this guy is like interested or not. He was just like, okay. Yeah, after 10 minutes, so where do I pay?
Right.
And it was like close, like almost 5 figures. Just like that, like literally.
That means they have done their own work by watching your content.
Correct. So you have to give them the homework. You have to give them the materials for their homework.
So I want to jump into the last question, which is what you're saying is great, but of course, when you really break it down, it's a 3-year journey that you had so far. Yeah. And maybe you can even say it's a 4 to 5 years as you are building your leads at first. So if we could end this episode, I just want to ask you this one question, which is, what is your one piece of advice for somebody to get started?
Yeah. Copy. I think that is very, very important. You see, right, why that's important is this. When someone makes the jump from employee to employer, a lot of it is because the person has the confidence to be able to do that. So the mere fact that through your actions you have done that tells me, I don't need to know your background, I don't know what language or what religion you're from, I know you have the confidence to take the next step. Now, the issue is that people who have that kind of confidence come from a place of a high level of ego. Potentially, I'm not saying for sure.
Absolutely.
Because you need that kind of gumption, right, to be able to say, yeah, I'm going to step out. I'm going to do it myself on my own.
Correct.
So what this can snowball into, right, would be that everything they want to be original. They want to be, self-created, self-made. It's my idea. It's new. No one else has it. Things like that. Unfortunately, unless you have a very rich financial backer, if you are going to dream up something yourself from scratch, there's a good chance it's going to fail.
Absolutely. Especially when you are
yeah.
doing it for the first few times.
Correct.
You're going to have to make those mistakes that you've never made before.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why my best way of advice is to copy. Is find someone who has been there, done that. Yes, if you copy someone, you're not better than that person. But the objective, especially starting out, is not to be the best. The objective is to survive. So when you copy, you are copying something that's proven. Of course, you make tweaks. You cannot copy someone like... So for example, Vanessa. I cannot... There's so much I copy from Vanessa. In fact, if people pay attention enough, if you look at Vanessa's funnel, you look at her webinar, and you look at ours, it's like you can really see the skeleton is there.
Yep.
Right? But you have to make adjustments. She's a girl, I'm not. She's doing coaching for people transitioning from corporate career into entrepreneurship. I'm doing stock investing content. So I recognize I cannot copy. But there are a lot of things I can just take wholesale and just do it. Figure out what you can do what you can do, what you can copy, and figure out what you cannot copy. And that will greatly increase your chance of success. Now, what that does is that because you will increase your chance of success, you will be able to get your first, you can basically sustain the company from a cash flow perspective at the beginning. And once you have created it doesn't even have to be successful, a semi-successful model, then you can start coming up with all the novel, original ideas. And that failure won't be that bad. It won't be make or break. It's like, fail, all right, try again. Because you know that something is there to really, keep the lights on, ensure that if you have any employees, ensure employees are being paid. And of course, your own personal life as well. So that's my one big advice.
Well, there you go. For those of you guys who are facing the same things, trying to do the same things, trying to find your own success, and as well as, just learning how to make it using a lot of online methods that you may have heard of, YouTube, the funnelings, the building an email list. I hope this episode so far has enlightened you, and of course MJ shared a lot of good stuff that quite frankly even I myself is applying, and sometimes all of this kind of stuff you really don't have to be too perfect about it, but we can recognize that some of us may not be able to get to that stage, and that is why this is the moment before we end today's video. I just want to share with you guys that we have a mentorship program which you can apply so that we can walk you through those steps and then get you to the steps, get you to the stage where you want. So that's it for today, MJ. Thank you so much.
All good.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.